Hey everybody!
Hi!
Hey, we are going to make a really good stuffing tonight that we've made the last, 4 or 5 years for Thanksgiving. And it is a cornbread stuffing with chili and cranberries and pine nuts. And this, I would say, is our adult stuffing.
Yes.
It's a little spicy, got some interesting flavors. We usually make 2 different things of stuffing, and it's kind of like dueling stuffing. I make this one, and Lisa makes a more traditional one where she uses stovetop stuffing and then adds a lot of Thrive ingredients into it to kind of spice it up.
Yeah.
And
so we'll be making that another day.
Yeah.
But today we'll just be making Jeff's.
Yeah, we're
stuffing.
making mine tonight. So we've had a lot. We were going to wait a week or 2 to do this, but we mentioned it a couple of days ago. We've had a lot of people who have been asking for it. It's really pretty easy. But I have to tell you, the first couple of times I made it was before we were using Thrive. Actually, it's been 10 years that we've been making this, right?
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. It probably took a good hour and a half.
Between all the chopping and
chopping, I had to take chilies and I had to kind of heat them over the stove and then put them into a brown paper bag and let them sit and then peel them and then chop them. And there were just all these steps. So honestly, we decided to make this today. I pulled out the recipe. I only make this once a year, so I'm not super familiar with it. But we pulled out the recipe. We had every single ingredient we needed except the sourdough bread. That was the only thing we had to run to the store and get. So it's nice when you have a good supply of Thrive ingredients because you can just find recipes and make them. You usually don't have to pick up a lot of different things. So I'm gonna have Lisa go behind the camera because there's gonna be a lot of different things, moving parts here, and so that she can kind of just follow me around. So I'm hoping that I can flip this camera around without any trouble. So let's see, there we are, that's gonna work. Okay, so why don't you hold that right there. And I'm gonna have to refer a little bit to the recipe here because like I said, I only make this about once a year. But the first thing you need cornbread. So you can use, we have a Thrive cornbread. It's really good. All it is you just add water, mix it up and bake it for about 25 minutes. So I did that this morning. There's the cornbread. You can see we stole a couple of pieces out. You can use any cornbread. If you have another mix on hand or those little Jiffy or Jif boxes, are they Jiffy or?
Yeah.
Yeah, those boxes, Marie Callender's, any kind of cornbread you can use. Just make up a small batch of those. The other thing is the sourdough bread. So we had one of those round loaves of sourdough bread. We used about half of it. I just cut it up into about 1/2-inch cubes. And we're going to use that. But the first thing we need to do is the cranberries. So I'm going to get this pan heating up right here. Let me back up a second. So move back here. So one thing is at Thanksgiving and Christmas, when you're cooking a lot like this, you use a lot of chicken broth or chicken stock. We found we used to buy those big cases or those big half-gallon things of it. But Thrive has a chicken bouillon, and don't ask me how they make it, but it's a vegetarian chicken bouillon. Tastes like chicken with no chicken parts in it. So I don't know how they do that. But it's really easy to make. So I have 4 cups of water in here, and it's just 1 teaspoon to each cup. So I'm going to put 4 teaspoons of our chicken bouillon in there. 3, 4. So there's our chicken broth that we'll use for this. And if it was Thanksgiving, I'd probably make 2 or 3 times this much, and we just use it on all kinds of stuff as we're cooking. So there it is. That's pretty easy. Now, for the cranberries, I'm going to need about 1/2 cup of chicken broth, which I have there, and a cup of our cranberries. So these are our sweetened cranberries. You can see we finished off the cranberry salsa that we made the other night. We were putting it on the sourdough bread, that cranberry salsa, it is so good. Like I said, every day it gets a little bit better. So I'm gonna take a cup of cranberries. Now, we found this recipe online, and the actual recipe called for craisins and then to cook them in tequila. Well, if you know anything about Utah, getting tequila, you got to go to a state liquor store and get it. I wasn't about to do that. So as an alternative, I just do this in chicken broth. So there's a cup, and because these are freeze dried, I might have to add a little bit extra of the chicken broth, but that looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna kind of do this as I go along. So there's the cranberries. I'm gonna now just let those simmer for a few minutes until all the liquid is absorbed. You know what, I'm gonna put a little extra because that's gonna absorb pretty fast. This recipe actually was, like I said, using craisins, which weren't gonna soak up nearly as much liquid. So I'm gonna put a little bit more in there and just let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Okay, the next thing is we're gonna get all of our kind of veggies going. And so I'm gonna take a cup of butter, or half a cup, sorry, a cube of butter. I'm gonna get that melting down. A lot of butter. Whoop. And I'm going to take some dried vegetables. Got them over here. I've got celery, green chili peppers, and chopped onions, all freeze dried. I'll tell you one thing I love about these, the celery, is it doesn't go bad. You can have this can on hand for a year or more, and you always have celery on hand when you need it. And when you're cooking, celery is really, onions, carrots are kind of those things that you just use to flavor a lot of different things. So it's really nice to be able to have them on hand, not have them go wilted in the refrigerator. So let me get my measuring cups. Now I'm going to use of the...
So how long will those veggies last after you open the can?
At least a year or more, a year or two. They never last that long for us because we use them all the time. So, okay, I have more 1 cup. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to put 2 cups of onions. 1, 2, a lot of onions. Next, I'm going to put 1 cup of celery. And finally, I'm going to do a half a cup of our chili peppers. There's the chili peppers. So now I'm going to get all these going in the, there's those there's chili peppers, they're spicy little guys. So it's now starting to soak up all of the butter. And I'm just going to add some of that chicken broth to this as well. Just to kind of moisten everything out. And really we're going to bake this stuffing. And so really you're just kind of getting all the flavors going and melding, gelling together. They're all moistened from that little bit of chicken stock, and really you just put enough in there to get everything moistening up. It's starting to smell good, isn't it? Okay, now some seasonings. These are some seasonings, and I think the only time we ever use these is for this recipe at Thanksgiving. We've got some sage, some thyme, and some marjoram. Okay, so I had to buy these a few years ago, and I use them for this little recipe every year. All of my spoons are my measure.
They're behind that celery can.
Okay, so of the sage, we're gonna have about a half a teaspoon. Okay, of the thyme, we're gonna do about 1.5 tablespoons, so a little bit more of that. We don't have very much, so I'm just gonna put all of it in there. And then the marjoram is about a half a teaspoon. And don't worry, we'll post this recipe, all the details and instructions, so you don't need to worry about it.
The measurements.
The measurements, yeah, we'll put those up there. So there, nice flavor, nice browning we've got going on. And that's pretty good. I'm gonna turn that off. Let that sit for a minute. Now, next thing I gotta do is just a little bit of pine nuts. This is gonna have pine nuts, so I've just got a bag of 2¼ ounce bag of pine nuts. I'm gonna put those in there and get those a little bit toasty. Okay, now come over here while this is all going, and we're gonna get the bread ready. So this is the cornbread. You just kind of take this and just crumble it up with your hands. And it kind of makes me want to eat it as I'm putting in here. It smells really good. Hopefully this bowl's big enough. We wanted to use a clear bowl so you could see everything. I might put this bread in with it because I'm gonna have to mix everything in. I want to make sure I have room for it all. So maybe I'll just
That'll work.
a little bit more room. Crumble all this in there. And this, sometimes I'll make this stuffing the night before if we're gonna have a lot of things we're making for Thanksgiving, and then I won't bake it until the day of. So that's another way you can do it if you've got a lot of different things you're making. So there we go. There's all the bread for the stuffing, and our cranberries are just about ready to go. You can see those little babies are toasting. Just kind of gives them a nice caramelized flavor if they're toasted. Now that they're toasted, I'm just going to throw them in with that. We can throw the cranberries in with that. Okay, that's looking good. A lot of flavor. That smells good, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Nice color, nice flavor. Okay, we'll let that sit for a minute. Now, come over here, Lisa. We're gonna mix that vegetable and cranberry mix in with the bread in a minute. But the other things we're gonna mix it with the chicken broth, and we're gonna have some eggs. So this is our scrambled egg mix. You can use regular eggs. It calls for 2 eggs. So 2 eggs would be 4 tablespoons of our scrambled egg powder. There's 2, 3, 4. And these are just crystallized eggs. And then I already measured out. So it's 4 tablespoons of the mix, 6 tablespoons of the water. Put that in there. Grab a fork out of here and mix that up. And that just makes a scrambled egg. They're crystallized eggs, really convenient. You never have to worry about running to the neighbor's house to borrow an egg or two because you always have them on hand. So that's going to mix into the stuffing mix along with the other things. So now I'm ready to put this in. I don't know if this is all going to fit in here. and be able to mix
We
it.
might
Hopefully
have to
it
get a
can.
bigger bowl.
Well, I want to use a, yeah. I wanted to use a, you know, all these smells are just reminding me of Thanksgiving. It smells so good. I can't wait for this. We have family members who are traveling from out of town to be with us. And hopefully they're seeing this and getting excited about Thanksgiving. And maybe our family members who are maybe not planning on being with us, maybe going somewhere else, maybe now they'll think twice and maybe they'll come to our house. Okay, so I'm going to get the chicken broth and I'm going to put that in. I'm going to measure out a cup. It calls for about 1.5 cups, but you just kind of do it until it's nice consistency. There's a cup. There's about another half. And sometimes after it sits overnight, if you do make it the day before, you've even got to add a little bit more. There's our egg mix. And then you just mix all that together, make sure it's nice and moist. First time I ever made this, I thought it was moist, but then when we baked it, it ended up being kind of dry. So I found that you want to have it pretty gushy, pretty wet. You can see that, that's pretty good. You see that consistency, soaking up all the liquids. And a lot of times I'll put, like I said, if I'm making it the day before, I will do it like this, and then before I put it in the oven, I'll even pour some extra stock into it. I just have a little bit of stock left, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. And there we go.
Looks great.
That's it. It smells really good. So now I'm just going to get a pan. I've already greased this pan, so you want to grease the pan. You put it in there. You spread it around.
You know, it's really good when the dog comes over and starts smelling.
All right, there we go. That's it. It's really simple, easy. I made that whole thing in what? Probably less than 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
15 minutes, start to finish. Now I'm going to bake it. Let me just see how long we're going to bake it. So I'm going to bake it at 350 for about 30 minutes covered, and then uncover it and cook it for about 15 to 20 more minutes until it's just kind of golden brown on top. And that'll be it. So what we'll do is we're going to put it in the oven right now, and we're going to end the Facebook Live. We don't want you to sit here and have to watch it bake. But we will put it in the oven, and then we'll put a picture of the finished product up on our Facebook group, and then we will put the recipe, the entire recipe. Now, we created a Facebook group, which is you need to join to be able to see what's in there. Because we've just started it, we're doing these Facebook Lives on our personal feed, on Lisa's personal Facebook feed. But in the next couple of weeks, we'll start doing all of these in our Facebook group. Because what we're trying to do is create a group where people who are interested in learning how to cook quick, easy meals by using freeze-dried, and learn all the benefits of freeze-dried, why it's healthier, why it's quicker and more convenient. So those will be in that Facebook group, and you'll need to join that in order to see all of those. And recipes, tips, product reviews, when we come out with new products or products we love, we'll do little highlights and reviews on those so you can see about that. And so I encourage you, I will put a link in this post to that group, but the group's called Thrive to the Rescue. You can search it in the Facebook search bar, or you can click the link and go over and join that. And then you'll be able to get all the content, the recipes we've already done, and all the ones we do in the future. So thanks for joining us. Check back in a little bit in our group to be able to see the finished product and get this recipe. Really encourage you to give this a try for Thanksgiving. It's really good, guaranteed that your friends and family will love it.
You got it?